With content-aware scaling, we have the ability to change the horizontal and vertical proportions of an image without turning our subjects into funhouse oddities. Let's take a look at how that works. We'll start, as always, in our Chapter 3 folder, and let's select Scaling 01. I'm going to zoom out here just a bit with Control- on Windows, Command- on a Mac. What we would like to do with this image is convert it from a vertical orientation into a square image without cropping off any information. So before we use content-aware scaling, it's very important to make sure that we're not working on the background layer. What I'm going to do is duplicate the background layer, and I'm going to do that with a keyboard shortcut. It's Control-J on Windows, that's Command-J if you're on a Mac. So now we've got layer 1. What I'm going to do is select the crop tool and show you a seldom used feature. I'm going to drag it around the entire image, and now what I'm going to do is grab a handle and simply drag it to exceed beyond the image area. I want a square image, and with this crop overlay here giving me a nice grid, it's very easy to visually adjust until I actually have a square. And if I hit the Enter key to commit to this, I now have a square shape. The only problem is my image is still vertical. So let's go up to the Edit menu and choose Content Aware Scale. You can see my boundary here and my bounding boxes. I'm simply going to click on one and drag it to stretch this out. Now as I move slowly, notice the skyline in the background is stretching out. The boat is moving a little bit, but not as much as the background is, so we're looking pretty good. But as I get closer and closer here to my ultimate destination, we can see that that boat is getting skewed to an unacceptable degree. So I'm going to cancel out of this by going up in the options bar and clicking this cancel button. And I'm going to make a selection here. I'm going to choose the lasso tool. And I'm going to make a very, very rough, quick, down and dirty selection of this boat. And we're going to talk about selections in the very next chapter. But I want you to just follow along here. With my selection active, I'm going to click on the Channels panel. And I'm going to go down here and click the Save Selection as Channel icon. That has saved my selection as an alpha channel and given it the default name of Alpha 1. I'm going to click back on my Layers panel. I'm going to deselect this selection with Control-D on Windows, Command-D on a Mac. And again, in our very next chapter, we're going to go in depth into selections and saving channels as selections and all that good stuff. So for right now, just follow along. We're going to go up to the Edit menu, go back to Content Aware Scale, and we're going to do the same thing as before. Now I'm simply clicking and dragging this out. Now if you're paying attention, you might be saying, hey, that looks just as bad as when you did it the first time. And you are correct, but watch what we're going to do. Up in the options bar, I've got a Protect menu, and right now it's set to none, but if I click on it, aha, the alpha channel that we just saved shows up here. And watch what happens if I tell Content Aware Scale to protect the contents of Alpha 1. Look at that. Our boat has now returned to its normal shape. I'm going to toggle this off and on one more time. Here's if we're not protecting anything. Watch the shape of the boat. It's very skewed and stretched, but if I set this back to our alpha channel, the boat has been protected, the skyline has been stretched in a believable fashion, the sky is still nice and smooth, and the water looks great. I'm going to commit to this by pressing the Enter key on the keyboard. So you can see how we can easily make a selection and tell Content Aware Scaling to leave this alone, stretch everything else in the image but this. Now I'm going to choose Content Aware Scaling one more time. I just want to point out one more feature here. We've got this little icon here of a human being. This is the Protect Skin Tones icon. Now what it's meant to do is to automatically protect people from being stretched or skewed. Now it sounds like a great idea, but in practice, Photoshop really can't tell a person from a tree. So it's only going by color information here. Photoshop is going to look for a particular combination of colors and assume that those indeed represent a skin tone. Now this will work better with some skin tones than others, but here's another thing that can throw it off. most of us are shooting people with clothes on, and Photoshop, even if it picks up the skin tones, will not recognize the clothes as something to be protected. So that protect skin feature doesn't really do you much good if the skin is protected while the clothes are being stretched. So it's a much, much better option to simply create an alpha channel and use the protect menu, select that alpha channel, and then you're guaranteed that Photoshop knows exactly what it is that you want to protect. Now you can cancel out of this scaling, close the document, you don't need to save it, and we're ready to move on to the next chapter.